We'll be starting our meeting shortly, so I ask you to please take your seats. Good evening, and welcome to this regular meeting of the Northside Board of Trustees. Before calling this meeting to order, the board would like to take just a moment to briefly review some of the rules for conducting our meeting. The order of business for this meeting is set out in the agenda. One item that you may notice on the agenda is the consent agenda. This item includes items that are considered routine and/or are of a recurring nature. All the items listed under consent agenda will be acted upon in one motion. If there is a consent agenda item that which anyone here would like to address, please sign up to speak to that item. We will pull it from the consent motion and discuss it separately. The purpose of our meeting is to conduct board business, and for that reason, it is held in public. It is not a public forum, however. We do provide the opportunity for audience participation. If there is anyone who would like to address the board during an agenda item or citizens to be heard portion of the agenda, we ask that you please register on the sign-up sheet located at the entrance to this room. This is so we don't overlook anyone who would like to speak to the board. We will review the rules for addressing the board later in the meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to sign up to an agenda item and has not done so? Okay, very good. This meeting will then be officially called to order. Please stand and bow your heads as Trustee Dr. Harrell leads us in the invocation and pledges of allegiance.
Almighty and merciful God, we ask your guidance and blessings upon this board, students, parents, patrons, teachers, and administrators as we are assembled here this evening in the common pursuit of this great nation's wealth, our children.
Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Please be seated. Thank you, Dr. Harrell. Sorry, the flags just didn't make it to the boardroom this afternoon. All right. Welcome, and we certainly have a quorum of the board present. Trustee Melissa Chumley will be joining us in just a few moments. First item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Woods.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Freeman, members of the board, apologize about the lack of flags. We will correct that for the next time, assuming we're back in this venue. Several things to report to the board tonight. A little note about progress of our Citizens Bond Committee. That group has obviously been meeting now for a 3-week period of time. They will all be back together meeting in subcommittees this week. We anticipate some of them will finish that subcommittee work this week, but then we will obviously have a report out meeting at the end of all of the subcommittee work. So that is, we are making good progress on that front. And the board will be hearing more about that as we end this calendar year and begin the next calendar year. Want to take a minute to thank everybody who was involved with the dedication of Joe Strauss III middle school. Really, really nice event. Certainly Dana Gilbert Perry and her staff, but our communications folks and our fine arts folks, really nice event. And speaking to the speaker, afterwards, I think he was appropriately honored and touched by the event. So thanks to everybody who played a role in that. Last week we kicked off our bowling season for the Northside Bowling Club, and as per usual, COVID or no, we had a packed house for that event. Lots of kids and parents, and of course principals and teachers who are sponsors there. So thanks to folks who are there. That continues to be a really well-attended set of events, and we've got students each year since that program began winning college scholarships in bowling to help them pay for their education. Speaking of other athletic endeavors, we have the Brandeis Broncos have qualified for the state volleyball tournament. They'll play Friday at 5 o'clock in Garland for the state semifinal, and if they win, they'll play Saturday at 5 o'clock for the state championship. We've also got 2 football teams who are still in the playoffs. Taft gets to go to Edinburgh, Texas, and Brennan is here on Saturday afternoon, and that schedule for trustees is in your materials in your blue folder if you're interested in attending any of that. I want to thank all of our principals for Veterans Day events. Last Thursday, Mrs. Freeman and I got to go to I thought, a wonderful celebration at Kruger Elementary where they had like a drive-through parade for veterans and probably had 75 or 100 folks there. And it was really nice in an era where our country is divided on a lot of fronts to see whole school communities come out and get behind something that is obviously worth all of our support. So thanks to all of our principals who hosted Veterans Day events at their campus. And lastly, we decided to bring video moments back. And so tonight is another in the series of I Choose Northside. And so, gentlemen, if we can cue that up.
My name is Sandy Kennison, and this is why I choose Northside. Personally, I grew up in Northside ISD, and I had a great experience, wonderful memories of my time here, and I wanted the same for my girls. I just felt that I had an amazing, well-rounded experience and teachers who really cared about my academic and overall experience. I choose Northside because I know that Northside is going to provide the resources and the enrichment opportunities. I have 2 girls. They have thrived here at Fields Elementary and at Folks. Both of them have been here since pre-K and first grade. We were living in South Korea. They were born, they went to school there. When we were moving back to the United States, I already knew from my personal experience here at Northside, I wanted them to attend a Northside school as well. I grew up in public education, and I feel that it provided me with all the tools and resources I needed to be successful as an adult, as a member of society. I have felt in my experience and my experience with my girls at Northside, at every school we've been at so far, the teachers, the administration have been so warm, so wonderful, super supportive. We couldn't have asked for more. My name is Sandy Kennison, and I choose Northside for my family.
So thanks to the media team for continuing to put those together and make those available to families via social media and other channels. So that, Ms. Freeman, concludes Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Woods. Board members, anyone? Ms. Saldana?
I would like to congratulate Principal Kirkpatrick at Rhodes Elementary School. They had their book character parade this morning, and it was awesome. Every kinder and first, second, third, and fourth grader dressed up like their favorite book. They paraded around with the Marshall drumline playing for them, and it was a really, really fun experience to see all those little kids. And so I thank her and her staff because they did an incredible job with our elementary kids today.
Thank you. Dr. Hara?
Thank you. I wanted to do a shout out to Ellison Elementary School. They had a career day a couple weeks ago, and Stan, our athletic director, and myself, athletic director Stan Lang and myself went and did a presentation to 5th grade. It was servant leadership beyond the classroom. And so it was wonderful. We did 3 sessions, and Stan, of course, stole the show. I mean, when you're 6'10", how tall is he?
No, yeah.
6'5"? Oh, okay, well, he's a big guy, right? And he's so animated, and those 5th graders were like, whoa, and then there was this grandma lady there, like, a little bit of a letdown, but we had lots of fun. So they did a great job, and every grade level, all the way down to kindergarten, had someone who came and talked to them about their job, but also about leadership and volunteerism, which I love that nice twist on things. You're right, Dr. Woods. Strauss was a great celebration, dedication. the thing that stands out to me the most is the senator's wife was overwhelmed with how incredible our kids were. She said, I just didn't expect this. And she said it with such emotion and such passion that she truly didn't, but we're kind of used to that, but still the kids were phenomenal. But she really said that like 2 or 3 times. Boy, the kids were just incredible. And they were. And so that entire fine arts program on top of the student council and the other student roles that were portrayed that night were just phenomenal, made us so proud. The other thing is, and I went to Veterans Day at Leon Springs again. I haven't missed a Veterans Day celebration there probably as long as I've been on the board, and maybe a year or 2 before that, so like 12 or 13 years. It was incredible. I think the thing that stands out to me the most about that is students who had a relative who was an active military person or retired military were allowed to come up to the microphone, introduce their loved one, and then give them a special coin. And that took a while. We had a lot of Northside presence there, but the kids did it with such pride, and you saw the shoulders of 70, 80-year-old people just kind of pull back, and they got their moment, their pride moment, and it just brought so many people such joy. It just was great. It was just incredible. So thanks to not just Leon Springs, but all our schools that celebrated our veterans. And then usually I don't like telling about any awards I get. I think we do things and we do them because of the right things to do, but this one was so special that I am going to say it, but it's in tandem with the organization. So Communities in Schools had their first annual conference, and when I first fell in love with CIS was back when I worked for Northside in staff development, and this then superintendent, Mr. Rawlinson, asked for us to volunteer if we would want to volunteer with Communities in Schools. So I got to mentor at Anson Jones, and I was hooked on the program from then on, and then in several districts where I've served, always played an active role in Communities in Schools, or ensured that Communities in School played an active role in our schools. But they had this first conference, because now they're reaching out. They're doing more than just doing kids, a caseload of kids at each school. They're really trying to educate educators. So we do better for our children, and do better, that's our middle name, right? We always want to do better. And so they had a whole school, whole community conference, and they gave out awards, and I was there with my mom, and I thought I was giving an award because I love CIS, but I got an award, and it was an award called All In for Kids, which I told the story. It's a true story that when I first started in a graduate program, our professor asked us to say what we would want on our tombstone, which was a little morbid, but I remember saying something like, I'm all in for kids, Carol Harrell, and then my birthday to my year, right? But I love that phrase, all in for kids. So I got the Educator Award for All In for Kids. Community leader was Ashley Miller, who's phenomenal. She works with Haven for Hope, another soulful organization. A civil servant was Judge Peter Sakai, another hero. And then the corporation was USAA. So anyway, it was shared. I shared it with our board. I shared it with educators I know and love. And then I shared it with CIS. So anyway, it was lots of fun. And thanks, a big shout out to Communities in Schools for what they do in our schools with our educators and in our community. So thank you. I'm sorry I was a little long.
No, great story. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Blunt?
Well, he's go. You go ahead.
Okay, I'll just be real quick. Sorry about that, but thank you, Mr. Blunt, Ms. Freeman. So just real quick, the last couple of years last year and a half has been kind of difficult for not only teachers, but also the students. More importantly, I'm just sharing from my own personal connection. I have a senior, and some of those senior activities are kind of on the ground and just beginning a foundation. So with some of that said, there is need. Some of the students are working on rebuilding their programs and their activities and their extracurricular programs that they have. And so I just want to make sure that their shout out for their great effort, the students and teachers, their the teacher leads that are promoting those programs that keep students involved in school, not only academically, but also the reasons why they're there to build social skills and those norms that they are there for. The other piece I wanted to, how students get to school, our bus drivers have done a phenomenal job. I know that there's been some construction. We know that it's going to probably continue to grow, but our bus drivers have done a tremendous job getting the students to school safely. And though they have those, barriers and obstacles that they have to go through. Lastly is regarding our break. There's going to be a break for some of the teachers and some students, and it's well-deserved for our students with the great effort they've been putting in the classroom, our teachers for all their dedication to the students, and we wish them a safe Thanksgiving break with family. Most importantly, we'll share to definitely enjoy the weather, go outside. It's not a time to be stuck indoors, but our students really need to explore, go out on a walk or volunteer to walk your neighbor's pet if they're not taking care of that. I know my senior has that responsibility during Thanksgiving break. It's taking care of the neighbor's pets. And last but not least, even though football's still kind of winding down during Thanksgiving break, there's a lot of entertainment with student athletes, whether it's the start of basketball season. And so we know our Northside Gym and Paul Taylor and everywhere you look, right and left, there's going to be something going on. So students and Northside never shuts down. So just want to make sure that we share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Medina. Mr. Blunt?
Good. I like the idea of walking your neighbor's pets. We've got some German Shepherds. That'd be great. The other, I just want one item I just wanted to pass on related to what Dr. Wood stated on Veterans Day. I just want to thank Scarborough Elementary. Of all the Veterans Day activities I've been to, that was one of the most fascinating ones, both from participation. I mean, every single service, I'm not sure Space Command was there, but every single service was definitely represented. Just the way they executed everything that happened, it was like with military precision, the scheduling and everything else. So I want to say congratulations, Scarborough, really well done. And that's all I had.
Thank you. Cheryl? Mr. Lopez?
Thank you. No, I just wanted to make a comment and thank the Citizens Bond Committee, a lot of the community members that participated. Were really impressed in my observation and talking to them, and they really liked the organization and how everything was flowing, the flow of information, and they were really getting a sense of how the district puts together its bond and how the projects are based and things like that. So, and all of this was based on need, and so they understand their responsibility and they take it to heart. So I wanted to just thank the Citizens Bond Committee and the members on that committee, and especially our staff. I've seen how you all have been so patient with the staff, with our citizens, so in explaining to them why, and this is why we're doing things and things like that. So it's really good to see that, and I want to thank the staff, Northside staff, the citizens as well. One other thing, and kind of just to tag along off of the Veterans weekend, I had a chance to participate with the Veterans group. We did a food drive, and it's a Veterans Post 8397. And in honoring the veterans this past week, it's always good to see that we thank our veterans, but it's even better to see that our veterans are very appreciative. And they were giving back to the community, and that's what this Veterans Post was doing, this VFW Post. They know the responsibility. They knew what they were getting into when they served our country, and they did it honorably, and then they came back and then they're serving their community again. And so I thought that was very honorable, and I wanted to thank the VFW Post 8397 for allowing me to participate in that. So it was really great to see that. So thanks to all our veterans as well. And that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You've heard much about our Veterans Day ceremony across our district, and as Dr. Woods mentioned, I was with him at Kruger, and we had the Veterans Day parade. But one thing that really touched my heart amongst all the others, there was one car that drove by, and there was a poster on the side that said, "Our veteran is deployed," but he's on the phone. And there was a young man holding a phone outside the car as the car drove in the parade. And on the phone was his dad, I assume, or somebody in his family dressed in his BDUs, waving to the people on the sidelines. And it was just so touching that he was able to be there and he was deployed. And the choir was there, the fourth grade choir sang. There was a small group from the O'Connor band that played. It was just a wonderful day and a great day to be outside and a great day to see our children paying honor to our veterans. An announcement, I was talking to Katie Reed a few days ago, and I thought you all would want to know. She told me that she was honored to receive an appointment to the UT Chancellor's Executive Committee. She's still very much involved in education issues after getting off of the Northside board, and she also wishes everyone a happy Thanksgiving. So I thought maybe you'd want to know that. If you see her, tell her congratulations, because it is an honor to be on that involved in that way. Also, we talked about our Strauss Middle School dedication. I just want to take a little time. Speaker Strauss's remarks to the staff, to the students, and to the community, some of his remarks really, to me, spoke to me with a real heartfelt message, and these are some pieces that I took out, and I'm hoping that you will appreciate that too. He said, "Our schools reflect our communities. Today, this school is a central hub of activity and fellowship in this community. Tomorrow, and for many tomorrows, its students will grow into accomplished leaders, influencers, and agents of positive change. All of us have an obligation to do what we can to support this school, these students, and the students and teachers of the future. The way we treat our public schools, the way we treat the people who learn in them and the people who work in them, speaks volumes about who we are and how much we care about the future." And again, that just struck a chord with me. His words remind me of one of our Northside pillars, and that is the pillar of respect. And as I think of Speaker Strauss's remarks, I do believe it's ever so important that we come together with a spirit of respect and purpose and focus our time and resources on what is best for all of our kids. And I'm truly hopeful that we're going to continue to do just that in Northside and hopefully across the state and through our nation. That's all I have. Yes, Dr. Woods, next item on the agenda is recognitions. Do we go up front? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Good evening, President Freeman, Dr. Woods, Board of Trustees. Tonight, we're here to honor two amazing teachers. First is Laura Dittmar, a teacher at Nichols Elementary School who has been selected as the Texas Association for the Education of Young Children, Jackie Porter Classroom Teacher of the Year. Laura is currently an early childhood specialist education facilitator, a special ed campus co-coordinator, and a Ready program teacher at Nichols. Although she wears many hats, it is her work with the Ready program that has brought her this recognition. The Ready program serves students with autism. Her main focus is to improve behavior, address sensory or social processing needs, and implement a functional communication system for students. There's no way to determine how many young children's lives have been positively impacted by Laura's work. She's an advocate for all students by putting their needs first in order to make the best decisions for them. Laura knows her work is crucial because it enhances the emotional, cognitive, and social development of children's learning foundations. It sets the tone for children's future success. And she makes a huge difference that lasts a lifetime. As her principal says, Mrs. Dittmar really is the real deal. So please help me congratulate Laura Dittmar, the Jackie Porter Classroom Teacher of the Year. And if there's any family or friends of Laura's, if you would stand so we can recognize you as well. And now it's picture time, if y'all want to get pictures. Why don't you get it? Congratulations. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce Mandy Clarkson, an art teacher at Harlan High School, who was selected as the state winner of the Texas Art Education High School Educator of the Year. Mandy is being recognized for her hard work, her dedication, and advocacy for art education, both locally and at the state level. If you were to walk into Mandy's classroom tomorrow morning, the first thing you would notice is the concentrated energy of her students creating art. Their focus and intensity comes from the passion that she models. Outside of the classroom, Mandy is well known as a collaborator, volunteer, and someone who gladly will take on a challenge. For example, when our Fine Arts Department was looking for a new location to host our 1,300 junior vase entries, Mandy was the first one to speak up and offer her help and secured the use of the Harlan's campus. Mandy has been an integral part of several qualifications teams in and beyond our region. She has served as a state juror and assisted with numerous community events in our region. Mandy Clarkson is the type of teacher we all wish we had or we would want for our students. Her sincerity and passion for what she does is reflected continually in moments big and small. It's an honor to be able to recognize Mandy Clarkson, the TAEA High School Teacher of the Year. And any family or friends, stand please so we can recognize you. And then come forward and take pictures. Are you sure? Would you like to get your son? Okay, here he comes, here he comes. Oh my goodness, there's Mama. Yes, there's Mama. There's Mama. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yay! Do you want to get a picture? Oh my goodness. He's like, no. There you go. It's okay. He said. Thank you so much, and this concludes the recognitions.
So we're doing our new stuff.
Thank you so much for bringing those recognitions, and thank you to you both. Great work, and we're happy to celebrate your success with you. At this time, you're free to leave if you would like to, or you could stay with us for the.
Y'all are welcome to
board
stay,
meeting.
but you don't have to.
Bye. Congratulations again. Okay. So next item on the agenda is frozen screen.
Citizens be heard.
Okay, next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. I'm sorry, my screen's frozen, I can't advance this. We believe citizens to be heard is important and meaningful, and we're happy to listen to what you have to say. We value your opinions, although we are restrained by law from taking any action. Please address your remarks to the board. We ask you that you confine your minutes to a Northside policy or practice. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes.
I do Google.
At 2 minutes, Trustee Medina will hold up a yellow card signifying that you need to think about wrapping up your comments. And then at the 3 minutes, he will hold up a red card, and it will be time to end your remarks. We ask you that you do not make personal attacks on individuals. And the first person on the list, Dr. Woods?
Linda Chapman.
Sorry about that. My message today is to parents. Do not put those death shots in your child. Your child is at a statistically 0 risk of serious complications from COVID, but they are at an extremely high risk of serious side effects and even death from the shot. We are nearly 2 years into this pandemic, and anyone who doesn't see the truth and know that they're being lied to is either a participant in the evil themselves or doesn't have the slightest bit of godly discernment. I truly wish we could see the teeth and the horns on all of these people that are complicit with the evil, so we would be able to know exactly which is which. Parents need to Google the words Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, or VAERS, V-A-E-R-S for short, and take a close look at that. In case you're thinking that this is some right-wing website that I'm referring you to, let me tell you that the VAERS database is co-managed by the CDC and the FDA. As of November 5th, there is over 18,000 deaths reported from COVID shots. That is more deaths from the COVID shots in only 9 months than all the other vaccines combined over the last 30 years. The VAERS database also shows over 12,000 cases of myocarditis and pericarditis reported from the COVID shot. Those are serious heart conditions. The death rate from myocarditis is up to 20% at 1 year and 50% at 5 years. Why in the world would you even consider injecting your child with some experimental shot with the chance of killing your child, all to protect from a virus that they have a statistically 0% chance of having serious injuries from? It makes no sense, and you will have that guilt and sorrow on your hands for the rest of your life. Once you put this poison in your child, you can't take it out. You can't undo it. Oh, and you'll also be on your own to deal with the consequences, since the vaccine manufacturers has 0 liability. You can't even sue them. Parents, do your own research. You owe it to your child to take the time to really research this and to properly research this topic. You have to get off the mainstream media sites because they are feeding you lies. Email me at chapman985@hotmail.com, and I will happily refer you to hundreds of doctors who aren't bought and paid for by Big Pharma, and they will tell you the truth about this shot. For my remaining time, I'm just going to quickly mention as many of the stories of some young COVID shot victims as I can squeeze in. There's Ernesto Ramirez Jr. He was 16 years old when he took his first and only dose of the Pfizer injection on April 19, 2021. He was playing basketball with friends just days later when he collapsed on the court of cardiac arrest on April 24th. He suffered an enlarged heart because of the vaccine. So about 5 days dead from the vaccine. And then we have Isabelle Borges Valentini. She was 16 years old.
I'm sorry, your time's up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
John Mark Tisdale.
Good evening, how are y'all? I'm Mark Tisdale, I live at 13262 Frogs Leap in the Cobblestone subdivision. I had the pleasure of meeting some of you at the Strauss dedication a couple of weeks ago. I spoke to Mr. Blount not too long ago, so at the last school board advisory committee meeting, myself and quite a few of the others in the Cobblestone subdivision came and spoke our piece about being rezoned to the Sotomayor High School. We thought that our concerns were going to be brought to the board. Apparently they were not. And then it was also my understanding, because we weren't here to speak, that no action was taken on our concerns. I come here today to ask you to please reopen that, place it back on the agenda, and look at moving the 22 students that you rezoned from Cobblestone to go to Sotomayor. We have been rezoned, I spoke to Mr. Blount about this, 4 times in the last 4 years, 4 different schools. Mr. Galindo and Ms. Record made it, perfectly clear to us that y'all only tried to rezone one time in the in the lifetime of those children in the schools, and hell bent on it being 4 in the last 4 years. Why? Well, what was the purpose behind that? Harlan's zone could be adjusted in many different ways to alleviate any overcrowding that they have, and the fact to move all the 22 kids that live in our subdivision, how is that going to make a significant impact on the Harlan High School attendance? They've been moved from Henderson to Callison, from Briscoe to Strauss, from Taft to Harlan to Sotomayor. I just don't get it. It makes absolutely no sense at all. The big zone area that it looks like, if you actually look at the map, it's the gun range that's next door to us. There's one student that lives down Gas Road, the Hex. They live down at the end of Gas Road. There's us, and then the new subdivision behind us that's 75% built out. So maybe over the next 10 years, if you really look at it, we're already all built out. There's possibly maybe 50 students, maybe, not the 75 that was put up on the screen. 50 students in that whole area that got rezoned again for the 4th time. So I would just ask that you please bring this back up, put it back on your agenda to let it at least if not everybody, the middle school kids, the kids that are middle school now, at least let them finish out. Or they're the high school seniors, or the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors that are at or freshmen and sophomores that are at Harlan now. I know I got to run out.
Yes, sir.
Let them finish. That's all I have. Thank you.
you.
Oh, I've got to give something, Mr. Blount. I have some emails.
Would you please drop it over here? Yes, sir.
Created a petition as most of the parents and students that attend Harlan and Strauss to get them to stay.
Okay, thank you.
Liz Tisdale.
Good evening, everybody. My daughter has been in Northside since 2nd grade, and she is now a 7th grader, and she has been at 4 different schools. I'm also in the Cobblestone subdivision. It's a very small gated community, and my request is just, again, to have Harlan be considered as the zone for the high school. we're talking maybe 25, 30 kids total that would be considered. So from my standpoint, I just feel that that's not even a significant amount. We're not talking about a subdivision that has 400 kids or is growing. We're not building anymore. And the kids that are currently there have been moved around, yes, but I've looked at the positive as they've been able to learn how to open a school because Northside does know how to do that. They've also been given tons of opportunities that they would have never been able to have. So you mentioned the Strauss dedication. We were there. A lot of the Cobblestone kids were part of that dedication. That's a once-in-a-lifetime event. So very thankful for those opportunities. But at the same time, this team of kids at Cobblestone, from the time they were at Callison to the time they're at Strauss now, have basically been groomed to go to Harlan. And so they are very involved in Harlan. It's amazing that the art teacher was recognized because my daughter is very fond of art. So to know that that school has been able to get that established in only 5 years is pretty impressive. I just ask that that be considered for Cobblestone to be zoned to Harlan, or at least have a parent choice so that parents can either go to Harlan or Sotomayor. But I can speak for the majority, and the list that you have is the small group of us that live there with kids in Northside that would prefer for our children to be zoned to Harlan, which is where they've been groomed to go. So I am thrilled because you haven't even held up the yellow card. So I still have some other things on my little notes. You also mentioned about programs and extracurricular opportunities in college prep. Harlan has those, and they're established, and they're very diverse. And so even though we are a small community, there are diversification in our kids. We have a child that wants to go into mariachi. We have art students. We have ones that want to play football. We have ones that want to play other sports. I wouldn't doubt, because of the bowling comment, that we have a kid that wants to go into bowling. To go to start a brand new high school is challenging in and of itself, because those programs, those established extracurricular activities do take time and money and energy to establish. And at the new school, no disrespect, but in the first year, 2 years, it likely won't have all of those robust programs that I would really like to have for our kids at Cobblestone. There's the red card. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mary Jane Evans.
Good evening, Board. How are you today? Hope everyone's well. I am here because I wanted to address again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think the dead horse keeps getting beat up anyway, but in your website, it says that you strongly encourage the mask again, and I see everyone wearing them, so that tells me you very strongly encourage it. I would ask that you would think twice about it again, because the children do need to have the air to breathe and not have to have this confinement. I also would like to mention that, just a reminder, a mandate is not a law, and just because the president is mandating doesn't mean that we should really abide by that, because he should abide by our amendment rights. Our rights are, those are laws, but not the mandate. And I thank you for lifting the mandate when you did. However, I do feel that children are going to feel discriminated against. And they're sensitive, when they're young like this. I also wanted to address a little bit about the fact that I know that it was the vaccine thing is just really disheartening to me for these young children to be subjected to it. SAISD is really doing a big push on that. Why don't we push how easy and how well it would, much better it would be for all of the children to, and the parents to build their immune system, because it truly does battle COVID. And I don't think that if people are listening to mainstream media, I'm sorry they're not telling us all the numbers and all the truth about it. But there's many doctors, hundreds, millions, there's millions of doctors throughout the world, thousands in the U.S. alone, that have proven the fact that there are medications that are already FDA approved, they've been been used for many years, that actually do battle COVID. And getting the immune system built with vitamin C and D and zinc and quercetin, it really does help. And get those kids outside in this vitamin D. It really is very, very helpful to battle this thing. And I see, and it really looks great that the numbers are way down, but it has a lot to do with the herd immunity. We're all growing immunity to it. So it's just what I would like to put out there. There is a group of doctors, America's frontline doctors, who know if you listen to them and listen to their stories, you would realize that this whole push was deceitful on this pandemic. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, that concludes citizens to be heard portion of this agenda. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move that we approve the consent agenda as is.
Second.
You have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Those that have spoken under citizens to be heard, again, non-agenda items, we're not able to talk. You are free to go, or you may stay and listen to the rest of the meeting. Next item on the agenda is under curriculum and instruction. Dr. Jordan.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Freeman. Tonight, I'm bringing forward a request for your approval to modify the 21-22 calendar. So if you'll move to the next slide. As you recall, last spring, we brought forward to you a recommendation to add in what we call teacher planning and early dismissal days for students. This was due to our teachers teaching both in person and virtually at the same time. What we're bringing to you tonight is a similar model, but instead of 6 half days, it's 5 half days. On the next slide, you'll see that currently our teachers have and have had certain amount of minutes of planning time. However, although the majority of teachers, vast majority, are not teaching in person and virtually at the same time, the gaps in student learning are such that it requires additional planning time. The next slide will show you the calendar or the times that we will follow. Again, this is very similar to what we did last spring. Students at the elementary campus, if they choose to stay, they will be supervised and can attend Learning Tree or their other after-school program. Transportation will be provided. And as you can see, the teacher planning time is a 3-hour block of time that teachers can work within their professional learning communities. They can work individually to get done what they need to get done in order to deliver instruction to students. So this shows the proposed calendar, and what you'll notice is the yellow squares represent the days that we are recommending that we have as teacher planning early dismissal for students. Several things about those days. Last spring, again, we tried Wednesday out, thinking that that would discourage a long weekend or an early weekend. And it seemed, got a lot of really good feedback from teachers and families about that. The first early release teacher planning day would be in January. We paid close attention to any holidays, any teacher professional learning, so that there weren't 2 days taken out of a week. So we had the opportunity to discuss this at academics last week, and with your approval, we will then move forward and communicate with our parents, community, and of course, our campus principals, who we'll be meeting with on Thursday of
Janice,
this
can
week.
you explain to the rest of the board that wasn't academics, the difference between what is district-guided staff development and what this is?
Yes, great point, Ms. Chumley. So last year, when we went to this model, the idea is not that it's district professional learning. So the idea is not that teachers get this half day, but then the district says, hey, you need to come to this workshop, or we're going to come to your campus, to meet over this topic. Instead, it is for the teachers to design what they need to design to better be able to meet the needs of their students. Now, we did provide some guidelines. We gave some examples. It would not be a time, for example, for, to run personal errands or to do anything that did not relate to teaching and learning. But this is not something that's district-driven. Now, an example, if there was a teacher team or a campus and the teacher said, hey, they wanted one of our math specialists, hey, could you come out and do a quick workshop on, something related to the curriculum? If it's teacher-generated, then yeah, we'll go and provide that particular service.
But it's not a time to just catch up on homework, grading homework, clean your room. I mean,
No.
though I wish we had time like that to give our teachers, but it really is more to help support the academic progress of our students.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a
or
question.
comments? Mr. Lopez?
Janice, on one of, and I'm trying to understand the, how a day would go for something like this. So we're looking at instruction, as far as instruction and preparing for the instruction for that class or that teacher's class. Is part of the information that will be looked at, will they be looking at data as well for, whether it's reading, English, math? Part of that instruction, or part of that break time, is that going to include the data for them to look at and review?
Absolutely. The feedback that we got from teachers and principals when we did this last spring is most did a hybrid, so out of 3 hours, they met with their professional learning community. So that's teachers who teach the same content or the same grade level. And they looked at common assessments, they looked at how their students had done on the previous unit to kind of talk about, what are things that we need to loop around. And then they used the other part of the time to do individual planning, or maybe even cross-curricular planning. We had some teachers out of their PLCs working with teachers, kind of cross-curricular or cross-grade levels. So yes, looking at student learning data, looking at the curriculum, looking at what's just been taught, what's getting ready to be taught, all of those types of activities are how this time would be used.
Can you explain the cross-curricular? I'm not familiar with that, but.
Yeah, that would be if you had, let's say, a teacher who teaches mathematics.
Sure.
And that teacher teams up with somebody who's teaching a CTE course, a career
Okay.
and technology course.
Oh, okay.
2 different courses, but there are activities that you can create where they use math in that CTE course. So teachers do that. It builds excitement in mathematics. You can see it sometimes where you can have an art teacher who might pair with an English teacher.
Sure.
And they may plan a unit around a piece of literature to kind of come together and have those cross-curricular experiences.
Thank you, Jen. No more questions.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Ms. Freeman?
I'm sorry, Ms. Freeman?
Oh,
Who
yes.
said that? Okay, I was looking, who was that? Dr. Harrell,
Thank you.
what was that message?
I kind of wanted just to piggyback on what Ms. Chumley said. If there were a group of teachers, however, that were concerned about student social emotional issues or some disciplinary things going on at the school and needed to meet and discuss that, that certainly impacts academics. And so that would also be part of this if a school chose to come together in PLCs or as a school and talk about
Oh,
something
yeah.
school-wide
Carol,
or
I
classroom-wide.
completely agree with that, because that impacts academics
Yeah.
greatly. If you are, or say a group has a, with what we're hearing about returning students, say they want to refresh on classroom management skills. I could see that. I mean, all of those things to me. I just didn't, as much as I would like it to be just time for the teacher to do half a day to catch up on, really like grading and finishing reports, that's really not what this is meant for. Though part of it could be. You could do, an hour and a half of the learning community and then give time in the classroom. So, I mean, where there's been criticism before is two places. When it's been district-provided staff development, if it wasn't considered useful. And then the other is, some teachers want more of the staff development piece versus the time. And so it's meeting those two groups of individuals in relation to the needs. So I like that it's campus-driven. But Carol, I agree that that piece of it, the social-emotional piece, is something that our teachers need to be able to spend time in a group kind of figuring out what the next steps are.
It's just been really challenging. I mean, the students have not been in, for a lot of our students have not been in schools for over a year and a half. And to think everything would go back to normal would be not what we're thinking, right?
No.
So that kind of support is going to be welcome to have opportunities to do that. In fact, I wish there were more early releases. So, but I will be satisfied with the amount we got. So thank you.
Yeah, so this is consistently what we're hearing from teachers is the need for this kind of time, planning time with their group, planning time individually, time to think about students that are struggling in classes. So we think that this is well-timed and of great need.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing this option to the board, Dr. Jordan, Dr. Woods.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
I move that we give the teachers planning days in the spring semester.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this new calendar before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries, and thank you very much. Appreciate the option to be able to do
Madam
that.
President, before we go to cast, I want to apologize. It's getting more challenging being here by 6 o'clock. My work has just gotten where I try to plan my last event of the day at 4, and then like tonight, it ended at 6. So I want to apologize. I would like to ask for just a minute, though, if I could do my board report.
And I just want to piggyback, if it could also go back to our boardroom would be nice too. I think that'd be a nice switcheroo.
Those are things that we
Thanks.
can talk about later.
Sure.
If there's no objection from the board,
Go for
And mine
Chumley?
is real short. I wanted to thank all of our schools, and I'm sure y'all already did, for what they did for Veterans Day. I thought, we are just having such a tough time in public ed right now. And I really appreciated the effort that was made to honor veterans. And I've heard that a large part of our schools had veterans there, that were students, grandparents, or parents, or siblings, or other family members. Anyway, I just wanted to thank everyone who put the effort into that to honor our veterans. I think that we really did a good job as a school district. And then I wanted to thank Holmes High School coach Juan Morales. We had a school, not a Northside school, that had never worked out on turf field and was going into playoffs for the first time in like 20 years. And Coach Morales found time to allow them to come and walk around and do their practice on the turf field to get a field of it. And I really wanted to thank him and Cynthia Barrera for allowing that. I thought that was really generous of our school district to do that. And kudos to Dr. Woods as well. I appreciated his support of letting this school do that. And then the other thing, I just wanted to throw this out because I've been with a few teachers over the last couple of weeks, and I really think, and I'm not sure, we'll have to brainstorm, but our teachers, I had a teacher ask me why people were angry at teachers now and why they felt she was doing some of these awful things that the national and state media is talking about. And I thought, I don't know exactly how we do it, because I know we say it a lot, and when we go to schools, that's what we're saying as well. But I think we really need to have a united voice out there telling our teachers how much we appreciate them, and we know what they are doing in the classroom, and that no matter how crazy this becomes with the accusations that are being made in this political cycle, we know that they are doing the job that they are being paid to do, and they're doing it because of their love for kids. Because that is one thing I've really seen, is that our teachers that have stayed with us after COVID and those new teachers coming into the profession truly, truly love children. And they're doing it for the right reasons, because I think there's many times I could see as a teacher it would be tough with everything that's being done, and then much less these statements. Teachers used to be honored and admired, and librarians, I mean, everybody loves their elementary school librarian, and now we have such ridiculous things being said about teachers and these individuals in these roles. So I would like for us as a board to try to find some ways to really keep saying to our staff, we support you, we care about you, we know you're doing the best thing for our kids. Because I think we cannot say it enough with everything that is being thrown at them in arenas that we have no control over. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is under Facilities and Operations, the master plan of Stevens High School. Cass Teach.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. We have for you a presentation today. As some of you may know, the district is pursuing a Cass Teach magnet school at Stevens High School. So as a result of that, we commissioned a master plan to look at possibilities of inclusion of this magnet school at the school, so to speak. So Pfluger Architects was asked to review that. I know that the building committee had reviewed it previously, and we want to share this with the entire board today. So with me, we have Robin Pompa, who is passing out the documents, and then Andrew Perez, who's behind me, is going to make the presentation to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Woods, Madam President, and members of the board. I'm Andrew Perez with Pfluger Architects, and we're here tonight to present the conceptual design for Cass Teach at Stevens High School. And so if we'll go to the next slide. We've been working in conjunction with the new magnet principal, Erica Oliviatis, and the principal at Stevens High School, Ryan Pertel, to develop the program that you see before you on the next slide. The gist of this is that we've broken this down into 3 different areas for consideration, one being the administration for the magnet component. What you see on the screen is very similar to the administration program for Marshall LMS, with the exception of the addition of 2 counselor offices. So learning from the last go-around, that was highly suggested to be added to the program here. There's a general learning component for this because this is a space for featured teachers. So there's actually a sum of 16 general learning classrooms, so 4 per grade level, that would go into this magnet program. And lastly, we have what we're calling the CTE components, which are made up of a large early learning lab, which is actually our early childhood classroom and an elementary classroom kind of put together into one space. That all feeds into a collaborative area, not unlike what you've seen in some of our other magnet programs at Marshall LMS or Jones Middle School or Zachary Middle School. They've also requested a small library for teachers with books and different learning materials, as well as a student workroom that would be outfitted very similar to a teacher workroom, but at a smaller scale. And then rounding out the CTE program would be 2 secondary classrooms. So one is outfitted like a middle school classroom, and one would be outfitted like a high school classroom. And so all of those are meant to be components that allow them to train, future teachers in this magnet program. So going to the next slide, we worked with the principals to look at areas available on the campus and taking considerations for any future surplus classrooms available as well. And on the next slide, suggested that the magnet be located on the right side of the building. What you see here is actually a 2-story classroom wing, and that is actually mirrored off of the front entrance of the campus as well. On the next slide, you'll actually see why we chose this side, because the magnet program will also take advantage of sharing spaces with Stevens High School, and has the opportunity to utilize 4 existing science labs that are located just across the hall from that space on the first floor. And so that's why that side is being favored. And so what you see here is a very conceptual diagram indicating the proposed use of the space available. We would take multiple classrooms that are there and start to renovate those for some of those general learning classroom areas, and then carve out area to create the CTE and collaboration space that would feed into the magnet. One of the other things you'll notice on this slide is that there's a dark purple piece, which is a proposed addition. So the administration for Stevens High School is right east or to the right of the main entrance here, and it's incredibly difficult to physically connect to it. And so the suggestion has been made to go ahead and separate the administration, create a secondary entrance for the magnet program on the south end of the building there. One of the last pieces you'll see are part of a discussion that's ongoing for potential exterior or interior infill. That has a lot to do with how that space gets allocated and filled in to not create a very deep exterior niche that generates security issues. So that is still very much up in the air and very much able to be modified, but it's a consideration that we want to make. So on the next slide, we have just some very basic 3-dimensional views to give you a little bit of an idea of how this would actually fit on the campus. So what you see here is a view of the existing campus kind of up high. On the next slide, then, you can see how that addition might end up looking with a separate entrance for the magnet program again, and then looking at that block for potential infill, just again for security considerations. The last slide we have for you tonight is just kind of a street view to give you a little bit of an idea of how that entrance would work with the existing architecture on the campus. We are proposing a single-story addition. Most of the, actually all of the work is all on the first floor of the building, so there's really no need to take over anything on the second floor. And that is what we have for you this evening. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Freeman?
Yes.
On that last slide you just showed us, what is the raised roof for then?
So the
If it's
raised
only one
roof
story?
area that's kind of diagrammatically shown here would symbolize an entrance for the magnet program, the magnet administration, so
Okay.
their effective lobby and reception area. And we're starting to borrow language from the existing campus. You can see the different kind of
Yes.
towers that are around there. And so, again, this is very conceptual, so if we come back to a schematic design, this will be put together much more in detail, and we'll propose an actual construction with massing and everything.
Because it
So
kind of looked like that other side, so if it's going to stand out, it looks more symmetrical.
Okay,
and
right.
So just asking.
Sure.
Food for thought. And then what was, I probably missed it, but on this page.
On the floor plan, okay.
Yes.
Please go back.
What does MECH stand for?
Yes, I'm sorry. So that is an existing mechanical room.
Right.
It's just important for us to acknowledge that it's there because we
okay.
really can't
That's
touch
what you
it.
were talking about.
We
Okay.
would use it to feed anything that we modify in there, but we don't want to take that space away from
I
the
gotcha.
campus because it would take systems offline.
Perfect. So it's empty right now,
It
more or
is-
less, or
it
it will be?
actually, yeah, yep.
Okay. And then, was there anything in the back? It looks like there was some writing or something between the MEC, it's like white space on same
Can we go back
page,
to
right
the
here.
Floor plan.
The floor
there you go.
plan, yeah. I don't know if it was supposed to be anything right here. Is it just like a courtyard or a foyer or a hallway?
Yeah, I think it's just where the image cut off.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's an
Oh, I see.
interior, that's an
Right.
interior hallway. It's the main
Yes.
corridor in the campus.
Yes, if you were to
Okay.
head further down, that would actually be where the gymnasiums are on the campus currently. And so there'd be no proposed work beyond where that mechanical space is.
Okay, and I probably missed this too, so just
Sure,
be
sure.
patient with me. Is there a common area where the school could get together, or will they share the auditorium with Stevens? Will they share the cafeteria with Stevens? So,
Yes,
so there's
so-
no CAS Teach common area for only CAS Teach? No place to do projects or to sit and collaborate or to have a CAS Teach gathering of sorts? They'll have to book everything through Stevens.
Or that exterior infill area would be an area, Carol.
That 2 to 400.
That little
foot-
area.
It's,
Okay,
well, it's
and
diagrammatic, but
so, see where the tower is on the right-hand side?
Right,
And if you walk down like you're going in there, and over to the left is kind of an open area. See where it says
Exterior,
exterior,
interior?
exterior, interior, infill?
can 200, 300 people fit in there?
I don't think so.
Can kids work together on projects? It looks like it's all classrooms to me, so I'm just
So-
asking.
Yeah, so I apologize. It is conceptual in layout, and so all we're really showing at this time is general locations for spaces, but the walls you see, they're representative of existing classrooms in the space now, and so we would absolutely be taking some of those walls down to open
Okay.
space up. And so the program actually does have a collaborative area in it. I can't promise you it would fit 300 kids, but it would be an area dedicated to CAST for them. And then in addition to your other questions, the campus does currently have an LGI,
Sure.
which is located just to the left of the main entrance. And then, of
Great.
course, they have access to all the other amenities like the auditorium and cafeteria and so on and so forth as well.
Yeah,
But
the more specific design will really come at a later phase. What we just
Sure.
wanted to show the board was kind of a general location for where CAS Teach would be, and the notion that it would have a separate administrative space like we have done at other high school magnet programs.
Did we change that from when you presented this to building committee? I'm sorry, I'm just
No,
not
that's okay. We-
remembering that the separate CAS, I thought the CAS Teach entrance was through that column
It is.
on the right side.
So this is the same as what we showed you last time, with the exception of the comments regarding the infill. We didn't want to dedicate that to say it's 100% going to be built in air-conditioned space, because we didn't want to suggest that additional funds needed to be spent on that particular component.
Well, I thought we said, because, guys, on this, the plan, it was going to be like $1 million for that infilled area, and I said, that's ridiculous
Right.
for us to do that. And so that could be, you can do, y'all said y'all could come back and do something different with an outside area
Yes. yes.
for students in that area.
Yeah,
'Cause-
once we get to schematic, we can bring several options and the
Right.
costs associated with those options.
But I don't know why I thought the entrance was under that tower, but the other tower, but it's going to be on this front tower.
Correct. That
Okay,
one
I don't
that
know
you're
why I
looking
lost
at-
that for some
That one that you're
reason.
looking at on the right is the gymnasium space.
Can we go
Yeah, we
two
don't
slides
want to
over?
compete with the entrance to the athletics, just for visibility and security, so we
Yeah,
did
no, I
want to
did-
pull
I-
it to that corner.
Yeah, but so that infilled area, Carol, is still in question, and it was a fairly large area. It wasn't tiny.
That's correct.
So, I mean, y'all could do something. I mean, you guys have
And
great
like-
plans
like
on
Dr. Woods
outdoor
is saying,
areas.
This is really not a schematic design. This is just to test the idea that it does fit in that geographical area, the location, and those kinds of things. So we're convinced that this is a good plan that we can move forward to develop even further.
As long as you're not asking for approval for that area that we're talking about to be enclosed and air-conditioned, because I absolutely can't support that.
That won't happen until schematic.
Yeah, that would be a discussion as we move forward to get more detail.
This is truly master plan.
Yes, it's just a truly master plan.
Conceptual
Right.
only.
Okay.
Very
Just as long as
conceptual.
we don't lose sight of that, because that is going to be something that we'll have to have a vote and review from the full board on
That's correct.
what we do with that. The cost associated with what y'all were talking
Right.
about was way too much on that.
Okay. So-
Great.
This is on, for approval at the master plan level, Ms. Freeman.
Okay,
I-
so then I need help, Madam President. What are the different plans?
It's just-
What do we do first? We approve
This.
Master plan.
master plan, which is really just something on paper, conceptual.
And
It's where it's going to sit
Yeah,
on the campus.
It's very general. That's all we're
And then
approving
we'll
is
bring
where it's
schematic-
located.
Then we'll bring schematic design.
Gotcha.
Much later, we'll bring schematic design where you'll see every room and how it's located and how many square feet it is and their best estimate of cost and all of that.
Yeah. No, the reason why I asked, because I remember we've talked about this 2 or 3 times, and there were, when we were presented with this, there was talk about that it wouldn't be like traditional classroom 4 walls, because there would be opportunities for teaching practices to be observed and, simulations, things like that. So there was going to be more fluidity. It looks very traditional to me. So that's why I'm asking, but that's still forthcoming. So this is just where it is. That's it. Straight
Well, and
simple.
Carol, what they had talked about too is that some of those things like, I think it's May, at May, we have a classroom that has a window in it
Right.
because the UTSA cohorts would use that to,
Practice
watch,
teach or
right, for-
exhibit.
Yeah, practice
sure.
seeing. And so we talked about, well, that could be an option, or when they've said CTE, a student wanted to plan their own, when we were in that meeting, plan their own kind of pathway, that it could be associated with them working with a CTE teacher at a different school. So all of those are still there. I think it's just kind of more of a, out of them being in the classroom here, there would be other opportunities.
And sorry, I hate to be so nitpicking, but this is like a teacher's dream come true to have a CAS teach. So this is me, so talking, right, versus the board. I just think what an incredible legacy to all our teachers in Northside and everywhere that there's a CAS teach, a teaching high school, which is phenomenal to me. So sorry.
Well, no, because Carol, within the scope, when they bring the, what did you call it? The schematic. I'm sorry, I'm tired tonight. And they bring the schematic. So that could be a discussion that the board has through building in relation to kind of what we want to see in this, because this just is the footprint of where it's going to sit.
Perfect.
So we
Thanks for
still,
saying
we
it that
still
way.
have time to be able to come back and say, what about this, what about that? Have our staff look at it, review it, talk to the instructors, all of that.
Correct.
Good.
Thank you for the clarification, and it is clear in here about that it is, and if the master plan is found acceptable, staff will commence the schematic design and present it at a future board meeting. So we look forward to that, all of that forthcoming. Is there a motion to approve the master plan of CAS?
Well, I'll move approval. I just can't remember if someone already had.
Oh, I
No,
didn't
all right,
hear
then
that.
Then I move approval.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the master plan as described for CAS Teach. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
We
for being
Thank
appreciate
here.
it.
We look
you. See, y'all
forward
didn't
to
realize
future
just what a
discussion.
challenge this one was going to be.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excited to work with y'all.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is under business and finance. Dr. Barajas. Budget
Ms.
amendment
Freeman.
number 1.
Budget amendment number 1 for the 2021-22 fiscal year. Only the general fund is being amended. As you can see, slight revenue adjustment of just under $1 million or $500,000. The $12.1 million increase in expenditures is largely comprised of campus carry forward of $7.1 million. That's routine for us to allow campuses to carry forward unspent funds from one fiscal year to the next. Purchase order carry forward, again, pretty standard for us for purchase orders that were entered last fiscal year, but the items were not received until this fiscal year, so we moved that money to liquidate those purchase orders. And startup carry forward as well. This district also allows us to startup carry forward to continue for those campuses that did receive those funding of $883,000. Child nutrition, there are no amendments. And debt service, there are no amendments. Next slide, please. What we wanted also to do is to give you a preview of Budget Amendment Number 2, which we plan to bring to the board for consideration in February of 2022. That's when you're going to see, as we talked to the Finance Committee several weeks ago, the adjustment to state revenue based on a decrease in average daily attendance from what we adopted the budget on back in August. After hearing some information today that TEA is going to do some kind of I don't want to call it the HH, but some kind of adjustment to the first 6 weeks. It's going to make it a little bit more problematic for us to come up with a number that we want to land on for what we think ADA will be for the entire year. But nonetheless, between budget and resource planning, we're going to be putting our heads together along with another department to come up with what we think ADA may be for the entire year. That's all student counts, not just refined ADA. So we'll be looking at that and calculating, coming up with an estimate, sharing it with the superintendent, and bringing that to the board in February. At the same time, we also know that our vacancy rate across the entire district in the general fund and other funds as well is averaging a bit higher than what we've seen in the past. So vacant position is drawing down any salary, no expenditure, so we're also going to make an adjustment to expenditures downward once the budget department calculates what that amount is going to be. So that will also be really the two major components to the general fund amendment in February. Right now, there's possibility that we could increase the revenue in child nutrition based on the number of meals that are being served, but we have no plans to adjust the expenditures in child nutrition at this time. And debt service, there are no planned amendments for that fund, as they usually are until the last budget amendment in the year. So,
Dr. Woods? So if we're looking at the expenditures, recognizing a decrease in expenditures because we have the vacancies, our intent is still to fill those vacancies, though, isn't it?
Of course, they're not going to be eliminated, but if they are not filled, we'll recognize the drop in expenditures just like we recognize the drop in revenue.
And that would come in January?
February.
In February.
That's our best laid plans. But as Dr. Barajas just said, the agency literally announced last Thursday evening a change in how they're going to calculate the first 6 weeks of this year revenue. So we'll have to do the math on all of that and get that ready to go. And then that assumes that there will be no future announcements about a change in how they're going to calculate ADA.
for the second 6 weeks. Or
For the second 6 weeks, or the third for that matter. So as of now, we plan to bring it in February.
And so we're going to see where would the possible increase in revenue on child nutrition come from? That we're serving more meals?
That's correct.
Aren't we serving those more meals now, though? So would we have the current amendment?
Well, we want to let
Would
a
that,
couple of
would that recognize what
couple
we?
of more months under our belt to see whether or not we even want to adjust the revenue. So right now, we're on the fence whether or not we want to even recognize an increase in potential child nutrition revenue. We may look at the trend and think we're perfectly fine with where the board approved the budget. So that's why I put it's a possible increase in revenue. We're still looking.
But that wouldn't represent what we really saw, though.
I'm sorry?
No, it would represent
So
what we had
let's
seen.
say we did, we have $1 million now in child nutrition, but it's actually $1.2 million in revenue that we're getting.
Right.
We wouldn't want that to be adequately reflected in our budget?
Well, it will be an estimate. I mean, it could be that we think that, oh, let's go ahead and amend it, and then after that amendment in March, April, and May, the number of meals drops for whatever reason.
And then wouldn't we amend it again then at that
Well, then we
point?
would have the amendment in August for budget amendment number 3. So as I said, we are trying to determine whether or not we even want to take that motion of adjusting the revenue in child nutrition, or just let it ride for the remainder of the year.
And then adjust
make the
it
adjustment in August.
And
Correct.
adjust it in Budget Amendment 3 then?
Yes, or 4 if we decide to do a 4 or something, so.
Am I correct in saying that we don't commingle the child nutrition? Child nutrition stands on its own.
It is a separate fund, yes, ma'am. Those 3 funds are all separate funds.
Right, all 3 of these identified on this slide are separate by law, separate funds and have to be approved separately. So that's why they're listed like they are.
Okay.
That is correct.
And-
So this Budget Amendment 1 is really just simply carry forwards, which is very common for us in Budget Amendment 1. It's what we normally do. And we hope that we'll be ready to bring an estimate on revenue and expenditures at the next budget amendment, which typically is in February, Budget Amendment 2.
And Brian, on the area where we're on the carry forward, so it's funds unspent by campus in the previous fiscal year. So all of the monies that were given for, I'm trying to think of, let's say CTE equipment, tools, let's say tools. 2020, I know that they did send out some tool packets to kids in the homes doing stuff, but I'm assuming that they may not have used all of those funds because of the circumstance that we were in.
Absolutely.
So now that's carried forward and is now put in this year's budget, but the same amount of monies that we were allocating, we aren't changing that. Because there used to be the old adage, I remember with CTE classes, where if you have the funds, you need to spend it because you don't want to give any of it back. Because then you could have your budget lowered for the next year.
CTE is a little different because you've got both federal dollars as well as local dollars. On the federal dollar side, it's a spend it or it goes away issue. On the local dollar side, we allow them to do just this, where they carry over year to year. And so because of this very unusual circumstance from last year, most of them do have some carry forward in a whole host of funds, not just CTE. And
did
so
we
they are
lose-
carrying it forward.
Did we lose federal funds then?
No.
If they weren't spent? So we were able to spend everything
Yeah,
we
because we
needed to
prioritize this first, yeah.
on that first? Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, this is up for approval. Is there a motion?
Mr.
Karen?
Lopez, did you have anything to add
No, I was just waiting.
as your finance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Recommend approval for budget amendment number 1 for fiscal year 21-22, as
Second.
recommended by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve budget amendment number 1. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the resolution to cast votes in the election for the Board of Directors of Bear Appraisal. Dr. Barajas.
Yes, ma'am, this is essentially part 2. Several weeks ago, or last couple of board meetings, we put forth the name, Mr. Dave Gannon, as our candidate, who is now on the ballot. So now that we're at the point now where this district is to allocate its votes to our candidate and any others that it wishes to try to get elected to the Bear County Appraisal District Board.
Karen, did we receive any other requests?
We did. We actually have requests from 2 neighboring districts to help their nominees. So Dr. Barajas and I have visited about this quite a bit. We think a safe number to get our nominee absolutely elected, even if he receives no additional votes from any other entity, is 840 votes. So we have 1,072 total. So if I take the 1,072 and I subtract 840, if those were to be allocated for Mr. Gannon, we believe that gives him a guaranteed slot on that board. That leaves us with 232 slots available. The Northeast has asked for the votes that would finish out their nominees' election. That would be exactly 97 votes, and that the remaining allocation, which is 135, could go to Southwest ISD's nominee, who is and has been for many years Sherry Byram. So that's a way to think about it.
Or we could give all the remaining votes to Sherry.
Board allocates as you see fit.
The piece on that would be that if we give this not the recommended, but Dr. Woods, I can't remember how many votes
97.
to Northeast, then that would get that person for sure inside. We don't have enough to
So
push
even with-
Sherry Byron over, but historically, there's been support for Sherry. So I guess the thought, as presented, would be to ensure that our candidate gets in and have the nominee from Northeast to ensure that that person is there, and then the rest to help Sherry Byron.
Is this the first time we've received something from does Helotes always nominate someone?
I don't know the answer to that.
Nor do I.
I was going to say, I don't remember us having a nominee from Helotes.
We only do this every couple of years, so I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember that.
I think our interest with our school nominees we would need to decide how that best would serve us with those appointed by our schools and those appointed by our city.
No, I agree, Karen. I'm fine. I would like to have Sherry, I'd like to see Sherry back on. I think from what I've heard, she's done a good job, and we've been pleased with the job she's done.
Right. We still don't have enough to
But we
put
don't have enough
Sherry
to,
all the way in.
But I've been told that there is support from other school districts as well for that particular candidate.
I would just hate Brian if us not doing all of them, then she comes up 10 short or something, on it.
Okay. Any other comments or recommendations or a motion?
So if I can just get it straight, so we got 1,072 votes, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And I just want to make sure, so that way, do I have to say the specific language as to how many votes are allocated to who, or?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In the motion, we would need the specific number of votes.
Okay.
So what I had suggested was, of the 1,072, 840 could be allocated to Mr. Gannon, 97 to Mr. Fisher, leaving 135 to be allocated to Ms. Byron.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make.
Sorry, Brian, what did you say you were recommending for the 97 votes?
Mr. John Fisher, who is Northeast nominee.
And is this the first time that Northeast has not had enough to totally support their candidate?
To my recollection, the answer to that is yes.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, if nobody has any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and recommend that exactly what Brian said. Out of the 1,072 votes, 842 votes will go to Dave Gannon.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
What did you say, Mr. Lopez? I lost.
842 votes would go to Dave Gannon.
840, we think,
840?
is the max we need.
840, I'm sorry, I thought it was 842. So 840. Okay, let me start it again. Sorry about that. So out of the 1,072 votes, 840 will go to Dave Gannon. 97 will go to John Fisher from Northeast ISD. And 135 votes would be going to Sherry Byram from Southwest ISD.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to, regarding the allocation of votes for Bear Appraisal District Board. Yes,
Yeah, and
Mr. Blunt.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, although, man, I know Sherry's been done very well, but I do have one question outside of that. Just learned something new. So is there anything that prevents a school board member from running for the Bear Appraisal District Board? I thought it did, but now that I see something else, I don't. Okay.
I don't think so.
I don't know the answer to that. We might have to research that.
Yeah, because I see, the reason why is, the number 2, and I hadn't realized that a public official could run for that.
Well, it's not only number 2, but it's also
Somebody else?
number 6.
Oh, yeah, number 6 too,
and
yeah, yeah.
Also,
How?
there's a couple of them that are
Okay.
elected.
I missed, I never noticed that before.
There you go.
Okay, but, okay, thank you, that's all I had.
Interesting.
I certainly wouldn't want to support that either.
Oh, no, I didn't want to say that, but yeah, yeah.
Isn't that
It's
weird,
just
though? I
interesting.
didn't realize that,
Yeah,
that a public official could do that.
I agree. That is interesting.
okay, thank you, that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion,
Kind of, yeah.
questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. And next item on the agenda. Help me out. We've
Same-
utilized all
Medina
of our,
County.
Same item, but for Bandera and Medina County, where we have obviously much smaller number of votes.
yep,
There have been years where the board has allocated votes. There have been years where we have just simply spread them among the various nominees. We will not be alone electing anybody to the appraisal boards in these 2 counties.
Did anyone send any requests, Brian?
No, ma'am.
Because in the past, we have gotten some requests.
We have, you didn't receive anything, right?
No, sir.
Yeah, no. I don't think we heard from any candidate in either one of those elections.
so if we look at Bandera, I do notice that somebody we know who's been involved in Northside, perhaps we should,
Which one is,
Mr. DeWinney?
oh, that's the last one. I'm not finding Bandera. Oh, there it is, I'm sorry.
We have 61 available votes for, and as Dr. Woods has said in the past, we have split them up amongst all, or we could certainly divide this up however we choose.
In Bandera, I'd move it all to Ernest DeWinney. Just to let you all know, though, that's actually the Ernie DeWinney that we know, it's his brother.
Okay.
It's his older brother. There's two Ernie DeWinneys.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But are you suggesting, or is that a motion?
I move that we do our, let me see, our 61 available votes for Ernest DeWinney.
We have a motion and a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to give Ernest DeWinney in Bandera votes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. And then we're looking at Medina County. Same sign. Same, Dr. Woods, we have 3. We have
And no
3
letters.
attachments here.
No letters for this either?
It says we have 132 votes.
We have 100. In the Medina County election, we have 132 votes. There are 5 candidates. The list of candidates that I am not familiar with any of these candidates, is on the first of those attachments.
What if we just divided it equally among all of them? Oh, we
He's got 2 left.
put them on the, I think, pick 2 to give them the extra vote.
2's probably not going to make a big difference, but.
Okay, is that your motion?
Yes, I move
Divide it.
that we divide the 132 votes between the 5 candidates, placing the extra votes on 1 and 2.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second. The allocation of votes for Medina County Appraisal District. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, ayes have it, motion carries. And that sums up business and finance.
Future agenda.
Dr. Woods, the only other item I see under, on the agenda is future agenda items.
Yes, ma'am. At your place, you've got 2 folders, actually, a blue one that includes the athletic playoff information I mentioned at the top of the meeting. You've also got a date, a list of potential dates. Ms. McGee and I are starting to work on board appreciation events, and so you've got a list of potential dates, 3 dates for the board dinner, which Ms. McGee has deemed that it's Clark High School. That's in the rotation. And then you've got 3 dates for possible board luncheon as well. So if you'll do those and get that to Ms. McGee, that'd be great. We need to, especially for the campus, we need to get that going so they know a date. You have also got a note from TASB about benefits of being an active member. And then finally, you've got a letter with a questionnaire from the external auditors. This is an annual thing. And if you'll fill that out and return that to Ms. McGee as well.
It's different, though, Brian. The questions are different this year than what we've been in the past.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's it.
all right.
Brian, can we find out who sent us the Avid card?
I'm sorry.
Can we find out what students sent us the Avid card?
Sure.
I'd like to send
I
some.
don't know.
I'd just like to address them back, send something back, thanking
Yep,
them for it.
All right. The Board of Trustees on November 16th, beginning at, let's take a 5-minute recess. Will that give us enough time, 5 to 10 minutes before we go into closed session? Okay, so let's say 7:45. We will meet in closed meeting in accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 551.074. And we're going to meet in our same place.
Were your ears burning? Sorry? Linda? Were your ears burning? Were your ears burning?
All right.
You're roaching me off, man.
So the Board of Trustees on November 16th, 2021, beginning at 8:01 PM, will convene an open session. Action will be taken on the appointments as discussed in executive session. Is there a motion that come before the board?
I move for approval of accepting the recommendations for the positions discussed in closed sessions.
We have a motion and a second to approve the administrative appointments discussed in executive session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Bless you. Ayes have it, motion carries, and this board ends its meeting at 8:02 PM on November 16th, 2021.
Good job. I'll have a good Thanksgiving.